So we have a very special guest here today, Henry Winkler. And Henry is an American actor, author, producer, and director. His career started, he rose to fame through playing Arthur the Fonzarelli on Happy Days, really huge hit series many years ago, and did many meaningful roles after that. You've probably seen him in Arrested Development, Parks and Recreation, and more recently in Barry. Henry is celebrating 50 years of success in Hollywood. He has won 3 Emmy Awards, 2 Golden Globe Awards, and 2 Critics' Choice Awards. So Henry, welcome to Google, and thank you for joining us.
Well, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you, Maggie.
Well, this is a big month for you. You have not only 1, but 2 books coming out. You have your memoir, being Henry, the Fonz and Beyond, and a new children's book. Yes, there it is, and there it is. The children's book is Detective Duck, The Case of the Strange Splash. So that's quite a bit to have 2 coming out in 1 month. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the books and what inspired you to write them.
Well, you know, the beginning of my literary world started as a time filler. I had done a Broadway play with John Ritter, rest his soul, in New York City. It was called The Dinner Party by Neil Simon. I came back to California after 9 months, and I again could not really find work as an actor. So someone suggested, why don't you write books? And I said, well, I can't do that. I'm dyslexic. I am severely dyslexic. He said, I'll introduce you to Lynn Oliver. And I met with Lynn over lunch. We hatched Hank Zipser, the story of this young boy who is resourceful and funny, and he's got great friends, but he fails at everything. And we wrote 28 of those. And all of a sudden, at 39 novels, is Detective Duck. She lives on a pond. During the pandemic, my wife and I were doing jigsaw puzzles on the dining room table. We were doing a pond in New Hampshire. And I thought, that's where she lives. And she is ecologically aware. She realizes that with her friends, her dad is a beaver. She's the only duck with a beaver for a dad. Salamander, Sal, is her best friend. A dragonfly, a heron, a catfish with the worst breath in America. They're all her friends, and they help her keep the pond clean.
That's the detective work, is keeping the pond clean.
The detective. She uses her detective powers in order to figure out what this strange rubber thing is that just fell in the pond. It is a tire from a human truck up the hill, and they get rid of the tire as a team because you work so much better as a team than you do individually. And so this is the first Detective Duck, and it comes out the 14th of October.
All right. And that's, are we going to write 28 of those, or is this more of a one-off?
And you never know.
Yes. So children's books and memoir, there's a bit of but what's the connection there?
Okay, no connection whatsoever. My son, Max, our youngest son, he's 40, just 40. He is running a TV show in New York City. And for years, he has said to me, Dad, you've got so many stories, you should write your autobiography. I said, I understand children's books, working with Lynn Oliver. I cannot do that. That seems daunting. I met James Kaplan. I had to fly him out here. He was a big eater. I fed him 3 times a day, big meals, big eater. We talked for about 70 hours. And he then molded the story I told him. I then read it, and then I rewrote it, and then I added humor where some was left out. And all of a sudden, being Henry from the Fonz and Beyond was born.
Fantastic. That's again quite an accomplishment, two in 1 month.
It's unbelievable that that it should just come, the confluence of literature in my life. I did not read when I was younger.
It's fantastic.
Oh no, it's absolutely true. I think my first novel I read at 30, which was The Clan of the Cave Bear. My eye and the written word are not friendly. They don't go together. We would read like Tale of Two Cities in high school. I went to McBurney School for Boys in New York City. So we read The Tale of Two Cities. I read the cover. I sprinkled water on the pages. They crinkled up. And when I carried it in class, it looked like I was beating that book into submission.
Well, that's one way to show. Just speaking about dyslexia, this is, as I mentioned earlier, this is Accessibility and Disability Inclusion Week. So it's actually very appropriate for us to talk a little bit about that. Tell us how that affected your childhood as a student and as in your early career as an actor.
So I have a lot of thoughts. One is you have to look and see who is in front of you. When I was growing up, no one knew about dyslexia. They only thought I was stupid or lazy, not living up to my potential. And I could not read in class. I couldn't do math. I was great at lunch. The idea of school was like a bone crushing to me. I got by the skin of my teeth. I applied to 28 colleges. I got into one, Emerson in Boston. That's where I went. Not knowing why allows your self-image to plummet. People would say things to you, and when you're younger, you believe them. And one of the things that my parents, I've said this before, they were immigrants from Germany. They escaped in 1939 from Germany, and they called me dumme Hund. And for those of you who don't speak German, that means dumb dog. So you believe what the adults are saying. And I didn't want to be stupid. I didn't think I was stupid. But I sure was not achieving in much, except for the dance contests in high school. I could dance up a storm. But you feel horrible, and that stays with you. So whatever your outside looks like, inside, people are talking about the Fonz and how great and how wonderful it is, and I want to know you and meet you and get your autograph. And inside I'm thinking, I don't know that they're talking to me, because I took geometry for 4 years, same course.
It has to be. I have a lot of friends and people I work with here at Google who also found out as adults and experience the same kind of thing when you're very young. If you don't know, you really have no means by which you can explain, what that experience is like. So when you did finally find out, you said you were 30? Is that
31? I'll tell you what happened. The first thing, I was angry because the people who were punishing me, the people who were yelling at me in my house, since it's hereditary, gave it to me. So that's number one. Number two, I was angry because there was I wasn't going to get it for all the money in the world. That's not the way my brain worked. I was grounded and frustrated and humiliated. And then I thought, okay, so now you have this thing, this wiring in your brain. So now you try to figure out how to negotiate it. So then I found ways through my school years, my professional life, to help me. I can't overcome it because it doesn't go away, but I was able to live with it. And now the third part of that is, I think maybe if I didn't have the struggle, if I didn't have to beat it into submission, maybe I wouldn't be here talking to you today. That it literally was, it fed me to accomplish.
That's a lot of drive. I can understand how it would flip and you would feel that. I'm just curious how, as an actor, it's so reading centric. How did you actually do that in your early career before you actually knew you were dyslexic?
Well, there are, one is I would get the scripts early. I would underline them in with yellow marker. The yellow marker is never far from my view. And I would read it over and over and over again until I almost memorized it. When I had to audition and read from a piece of paper for a commercial or a play or a movie or a television show, I again memorized as quickly as I could, as much as I could. And when I reached the wall of not knowing anymore, I improvised. And people would say, that's not exactly what we wrote. And I said, you know what? I'm giving you the essence of the piece. When I get it, I will memorize it. I will know it verbatim. But right now, I'm just giving you a taste, an appetizer. And apparently it worked, because I was able to get work over the years.
It clearly worked. That's a pretty amazing story. That's persistence.
I am persistent. I live by two words, tenacity and gratitude. Tenacity gets you where you want to go. At 77, I am still filled with ambition. And gratitude, I am so grateful to be on the earth, to be living my dream, to have these books come out. And it allows you to get where you want to go without being filled with anger.
That's very inspiring. That's I could see over the course of your life, given what you've just sketched out for us, how it's fallen into place.
Really, I am so happy that I would lie in bed on 78th Street and Broadway in New York City. I would dream about, and I don't even know how it came into my mind, about being an actor. And here I am, having just finished one of the great experiences of my professional life, aside from the Fonz, Gene Cousineau on Barry.
That's great. You had mentioned earlier, Henry, that after the run with Happy Days, it was about 10 years, that you actually had a challenge finding meaningful roles after that because you'd been typecast. How did you overcome that?
I thought I could. I was offered Danny Zuko in Greece. I didn't take it because I had done the Fonz. Ron Howard came to me with Night Shift, still one of my favorite films. He said, you could play either part. So I said, I was flamboyant for 10 years. I'm going to play Richie. I'm going to play Chuck in Night Shift. But I had 8 or 9 years where I could not get hired. And it was frustrating and it was sad for me. And I will tell you a lesson I have learned in my life, and that is being flexible. You have to reinvent yourself. You cannot think, oh, I can't do that. Oh, I'm too busy. Oh, I'm too old. Oh, I don't have any idea how to even attack that. If you see it and you think you want to do it, you must try. And I became a producer. something I never thought of, something I didn't know I could do. And I worked with partners. And the first show that my company was able to sell to ABC was MacGyver. And it ran the first time for 7 years, and in the new iteration for 5 years, just until about 2 years ago. Who knew?
Yeah, that's a
You
huge
don't
hit.
know.
Yeah, that was a huge hit. It's interesting because the idea of breaking out of stereotypes is relevant, for many of our older Googlers as we think about the celebration this week around aging. There are a lot of negative stereotypes about aging. And from, what I'm taking from what you said, maybe the wisdom is to bring all of your attributes to the table, not, over-index on one of them. Make sure that whoever you're with, you're actually flexible and showing that you can do a lot of other things rather than just, that one thing that is stereotypical.
Do you know, even I got the Fonz when I was 27. And I got Gene Cousineau when I was 72. Now, a lot in between, granted. But so I'm doing the first table read for Barry at HBO. The head of HBO is at the table. I'm sitting on the side of the table next to Sarah Goldberg, who played Barry's girlfriend, the actress Sally in the show. And I am an acting teacher, and he was originally written as an idiot, as a self-absorbed meanie. And I'm talking to Sally in the script, and I hit the table, and I smashed the table, and the head at that time of HBO, jumped. And later on, Bill Hader and Alec Berg, the creators of Barry, said, he said to us, I had no idea that was in Henry, because people have a sense of who you are, but you know who you are, and you just go on the journey. And it is so interesting. We talked earlier about your lack of self-image. In my life, I was this shaky bowl of orange jello. But in my professional life, I had chutzpah. I would do whatever came to my mind, not thinking, just instinctually thinking it's right, but not knowing if it is or not. And that pursuit of doing has led me down an unbelievable road and journey.
Yeah, that's amazing. So when did the jello and the chutzpah come together so that you actually were a whole person going forward?
The honest truth is about 7 years ago. I'm not kidding. I started to do some work on myself, and I realize now that the more you know about yourself as an individual, the more you know about everything. We are all the same, and then the variation of where you're from, what you look like, man or woman, child, the color of your skin, all of that has nothing to do. Well, it has something to do. It is how you grew up, but it has very little to do with your humanity, I think.
And that was 7 years ago.
7 years ago, I started to meld the two worlds. And it's so interesting because, honest to God, there are times when I'm in a situation and I come smack up against the old Henry. And then I have to either go with the old Henry and an old way of being, which I disliked, I didn't care for it, limiting, or push back against it and go, you know what? You can do this.
Great it happened.
Say that again.
It's great it happened, even if it was
Oh,
a little
right.
later in your life. It's really beautiful.
And that's the thing. There is no right time. It happened, and I am still able to function as a human being and a professional, a dad, a father, a grandfather, a friend. My mind is still going. I don't know when that is going to, but there is no right time. The time is right this second. I have learned that over and over again in my life. I kept thinking, I can't. And then I finally talked myself I was bored by finding out how I can talk my way out of doing something. And then I finally said, oh, just shut up and walk to the edge and jump and fly.
Very inspiring. I think everyone's learning a lot here, Henry. I think it's great.
Thank you.
I do want to just bring us back to, we had talked about dyslexia and how that has, been something that has been a struggle for you, during your life, and you've done so much around awareness with that. Just mentioning macular degeneration is another area that you're really involved in.
Do you know why? My father-in-law, rest his soul, was my dentist and was 6'2". He had all my height. I think he got more, and I got so. But he was a wonderful man, and funny, and natty, and different than my father, and gave me an affection differently than my own father. And then I started to watch him not being able to read his mail. And then I saw this machine come into his house where the letter was magnified. And then that didn't work so well. And then he wasn't my dentist anymore. And he had to close his practice. He was in the politics of dentistry. He would travel all over. He loved being an ambassador of dentistry. That had to stop. And it was because of macular degeneration. So this company, Apellis, approached me, and they said, would you be the spokesperson to only ask people, everybody, anybody, but especially people from 60 on, to go and have their eyes checked? Because macular degeneration, you can work with it. If it gets to GA, dystrophic atrophy, there is no going back. There is no turning back. So get your eyes checked. And I saw it in person, and I thought, you know what, this is an important thing to do.
No, really appreciate that. As I mentioned earlier, my mother-in-law has it as well, and it is. Although, I'm curious with your father-in-law, did he know? Was this similar to the dyslexia where he found out too late because it was just not something that was as commonplace?
I think so. I think that he had to find out along the way, and it was not as clear then as it is now. There was no injection then, I think. There was no vitamin. There was no nothing then. And it was just so sad to watch him go from this vibrant tower of a human and just disintegrate into himself.
Imagine. Well, we appreciate that reminder. I'm sure it's important for all of us to think about doing that.
Thank you.
So let me ask you some general questions.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Is there anyone that has really inspired you in your career or in your life?
Do you know who I'm inspired with? Well, a lot of people. But who really inspires me are musicians. I wish I could sing. And it's not like, oh, anybody can sing. Oh, you can sing. No, I really can't. And I am moved by people who need to make music. They can't live without making music. They cannot express themselves as clearly. Bruce Springsteen, Bruno Mars, Sia, Brandy Carlisle. This man, talk about disability. His name is Louis Cabaldi, and Louis Cabaldi has Tourette's. And this is what I heard when he is giving a concert of these beautiful songs that are come from inside him, and he gets an episode, and he literally cannot go on. The audience continues singing the song so that when he comes out of the episode, he knows exactly where he is and picks up and continues. Oh my God. That kills me. That kills me. But singers, my parents took me when I was 11. I had to wear a tuxedo, and we went to the opera in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I first of all didn't want to be at 11 in a tuxedo. I didn't want to go on a Monday night, but I was overwhelmed by the giganticness of the music. And even when I would home, I got when I was 14, I got a record player. And I bought with my allowance. I bought tenors and sopranos singing their arias. And when I was so frustrated because my parents got so angry and I had no idea why, I wasn't sure, I didn't do much, I would put on these arias. And my brain went from confusion to serenity. Oh, my music has always been so important to me.
That's pretty amazing for a teenager too. Opera is such an acquired taste.
It really is, but there are arias that are so emotional, whether you understand the language or not, whether you can get opera or not. The music just goes right into my body and soul. And so when I meet singers, when I meet people that I love, I'm going in the middle of this month to see Brandy Carlisle in concert here. Oh my, I can't wait. I'm languageless.
That is that's very powerful. You can almost understand how, given the childhood that you had and the challenges that you had with the dyslexia, that to have music be something that actually calmed things down, and helped you feel something very positive, it's not that surprising.
No, and then I just heard that music on Alzheimer patients, that it's the music that somehow worms its way through and stimulates some sort of recognition. Music is so powerful. And you know what kills me? There are 11 notes, at least in the Western Hemisphere. There are 11 notes. And out of those 11 notes, the history of music has been created just playing those notes differently. That kills me.
That's an interesting observation. There are a lot of permutations, and then you throw in all the instruments, you throw in all the, the highs and the lows. And
500 years ago, let's say, I have no idea if I'm right, but 500 years ago, a guy wakes up in the middle of the night and he goes, I'm going to make a piano. I have this vision. I'm going to create a piano. And he builds a piano. Then somebody else, men and women both, say, I'm going to write something to play on this new piano. And then my wife and I go on Saturday afternoons to the concert hall here in LA, 5 times a year. And you think, we live so far away. I don't want to, oh my God, to fight the traffic. You have to take a lunch in order to get to the concert hall. Philharmonic. Okay, so then you get there. Then they start. Then you are transported. You are elevated. You are lifted out of your chair and you float out of the concert hall. It is the magic of music. That's all I have to say. I don't even know how to define it more than that.
I accept it. I was a musician myself at one point.
What did you play?
I play harpsichord.
The harpsichord. Isn't
Yeah,
that
it's like
before the piano?
Yeah, it goes 600 years back, and somebody created that before the piano.
Wow.
Yes. Anyway, I digress.
Oh, wait a minute. That is a wonderful thing. I've met very few people in my journey around the world because of what I do who actually said to me, oh, you know what? I play the harpsichord.
It is very unusual, I admit. So there's a first for you. So, all right. So let me we got just a couple more questions, and then we want to make sure we have enough time for some questions from the audience, because we have a whole set of them lined up for you. I was curious, of all the characters you played, do you have a favorite?
I don't. It is the next character I'm going to play. I'm telling you, Maggie, from my core, I am so happy when I am doing it, when I am working on a show or a movie or a radio play or whatever it is. I'm overwhelmed. I love doing what I do. My dream, a very short bucket list, but it is to go back to Broadway. I have failed twice. I have succeeded once in the Neil Simon play, and I need to go back and do that again.
Well, we will watch for that. Are there other things that you have planned that we should know about?
To fly fish as often as I can.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
All right. I am gonna take a few questions from the audience. So basically, what they have provided these to me. Let me just get this in front of me, and we'll start with the ones that are most popular. So Henry, what's happened is that over the last few days, people have provided these questions, and then they voted them up or down. And the ones that we're going to go through here are the ones that most people want to get an answer to. Okay. So Chris, this is a question from Chris. Can you talk about how you thought about your career and your roles as you've aged, and how your thinking has evolved? You could have been stuck in the role of the Fonz, but you successfully pivoted into new characters, including Gene on Barry, which I believe is some of your best work.
Wow. First of all, Chris, you show great taste. Second of all, thank you very much. And third of all, I'm going to bring it back to the autobiography. What I learned after I read it over and lived with it was it really is the story of starting with me living who I thought I should be. So the Fonz was a great character because as I went into the audition and all I did was change my voice. I don't know where I got the nerve. I don't know where I got the thought. All I did, I started talking to the guys like this. Hey, you over there in the corner. I know you're a producer. Don't look at me like that. All right. Look at somebody else. Who knew where it came from? That unleashed me, the changing of the voice. My early work was awkward, in my opinion. And the journey from there to being authentically me, to being who I am, not who I think I should be, my work is better. I don't know that I could have done Gene Cousineau 10 years ago. I don't know that the depth would have been released because I was so guarded, so self-conscious. Whether I showed it or I didn't, inside I was. So that's my thinking, that I cannot wait for the next thing I do, because I am emerging as a new actor.
With every role.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, let's see what's next. Ellen, fostering inclusivity and accessibility on set can be challenging, even with good intentions. Any notable experiences where you've seen it done well?
So many. It was starting with Happy Days. We did it. I fell in love with Linda Bove, who is deaf. The Fonz fell in love. I had a mechanic who came and helped me, who was in a wheelchair. I have seen it many, many times. I did a scene in Barry with a trans actor. I didn't even know that he was until we spoke afterwards. I had no idea. I'm telling you, it is the soul, not the outward appearance. It is not what you think you see. It is what you feel from the human being that allows you to just bring them into your sphere.
That is a good definition of inclusion.
Thank you.
This is from Sean. Having a disability can feel isolating, especially when it's an invisible disability like dyslexia. Did you experience that? What would your advice be to deal with it and experience success?
Okay. This is what I've learned. I was completely beaten by my disability. I was ashamed. I was sad. I felt less than. I felt less than until like 2 days ago. It gets in your brain, and it ties you up like string is just pulling. It is as easy to cut the string as it is to feel the headache that the string creates. I'm finding this out. Now, it doesn't make you complete. It doesn't make you so much better, but the freeing that you allow yourself the freedom to just be. This is it. This is who I am. I make a great bundt cake. I don't know. Whatever it is you do. It's enough.
Thank you for that. This is from Dale. Thank you. In regards to the challenges of dyslexia and your work with children, can you imagine any type of technology improvement that would help? Speech, reading, hardware, software, anything at all?
I have to leave that. I literally don't have an answer to that question, but I love the question. I thank you for asking me. I would be a liar if I said I have trouble watching football on Sunday because it's now all over the place and I push the wrong buttons. So, I'm not that person. As a matter of fact, here over my computer, because I can't spell, but for real, I have like these words over the computer because I use them so often, I can't sound them out. So I have them written. I have schedule, patience, tenacity, because I use it a lot, gratitude. And those are only 4 of the billions of words I have no ability.
Well, it's a low-tech solution, but I'm sure it's pretty effective.
Wow, it works.
Yes, that's good. And it's not surprising that, at Google, we think about technology all the time. So trying to make it better that way.
Yeah.
Okay, Tom, what has been the secret to your longevity within the acting world?
Will. I was going to find I am Mercury, and I'm going to find that hole in the wall, no matter how small it is, and I'm going to go through it. Tenacity. You have to want. You have to know what you want without ambivalence. Ambivalence will cut you in half and just push you aside. I don't know if that is the answer to that is the answer to that question, but it's what I think. It's how I live, I think.
No, it's interesting. I mean, what you were saying earlier too is every new role or every new, writing a book about Detective Duck. All of these things are new experiences that you haven't had before, and it's almost like a new beginning every time.
It is true. It is true, and you have to give yourself over. You just have to let go. I think so often. I have said so often, I can't do that. If Neil Simon called me up and wanted me to read the play when he was alive, that we did on Broadway. He wanted me to read the play out loud in front of him with a group of actors. My hell, I don't know, the worst thing on the planet. And I talked my way out of it. Oh my God. And then I just said, as I said before, oh, just shut up and try it. I'm telling you, shut up and try. You should write that down on your, wherever you're working right now, and put it up. Just shut up and try.
Right. We will do that. Okay, Vince Cerf is known as one of the fathers of the internet, as he co-designed the TCP/IP protocols and architecture of the internet. What were your thoughts when you first learned about the internet? Fast forward to today, do you use Google products in your daily life? This is from Robert.
Okay, Bob. Can I call you Bob? I have Google right here. I use Google to get to my email. We use Google. I use Google search to buy my everything that I need. I do. Google Maps, is that a thing? Google Maps we have?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I thank God for Google.
Yes, we are happy that you're using Google. But when the internet actually sort of surfaced, did it change your life in any way?
Okay, when was that?
Oh, I would say, well, let's say about the web, which would be around the early 90s, when the World Wide Web came, and it was available to be able to do searches. That's maybe a little bit later in the 90s.
I am amazed first about that you can search anything, which I do on my phone too. And then I'm amazed. I'm looking up something and it's not there. We have no information. That's a shock too, that there is actually something that doesn't arrive immediately. But I don't remember when I started with the web. I am grateful for the web.
Yes, indeed. All right, let's move on to a different Sean. How did you work through your dyslexia? Were there tools you would employ to help you with your lines? We talked a little bit about this earlier.
Yes, you know what, there are tools and you make up tools, and there are now wonderful teachers who are trained to teach the child who learns differently. 1 out of 5 or 6 people on the earth have some sort of learning disability, learning challenge. um, you know what, where there's a will there's a way. I wanted to figure out how to be a professional in a job that takes so much reading, and I did. And let me tell you, I embarrassed myself a lot. I stumbled a lot reading around the table every Monday morning to hear the script we're going to do that week. I would make fun of myself. I would use humor to cover my shame and humiliation.
Yeah. Did you, once you knew what it was, did you share it with the people you were working with? So did that make it easier in any way?
I did. It didn't make it easier for me, but maybe it made it easier for them. And then my children, because it's hereditary. All 3 of my children, my stepson, Jed, he's now 52. My daughter, Zoe, is 43. And Max is 40. They were all dyslexic. Jed was my stepson was tested in the 3rd grade, and everything they said about him in the report was true about me. And I went, "Oh my God, I've got something with a name. I'm not a dumme Hund. My brain doesn't work like everybody." Then Max, my puppies see a bird. Then Max listened to the radio doing homework. And I said to him at the beginning, "You can't do that. You can't listen to the radio and do your homework." And finally, I learned to shut up. Maybe it was a funnel. Maybe the music made a funnel for him to go down to block out the world, because the grades were coming home. I finally just, you're supposed to sit at a great desk. He put his knee on his chair. You're supposed to have a great light. He would lie on his bed. He broke every rule of what you're supposed to do to study. And then eventually I just shut up. Unlike this afternoon, which I seem to be talking a lot.
This is the point. Let's just do a couple more, and then I think we'll
Sure.
We'll finish up here. Geneva, Henry, we met in 2004, and you were so kind, including asking to call my now husband to encourage him to marry me. Thank you. Anytime I've heard anyone mention meeting you, they speak of your overwhelming kindness. How do you manage to connect so strongly with everyone you meet?
I said it before, gratitude. I am, this is Maisie. Maisie is 4, and she's a golden doodle. Did you come to say hi? I am just grateful. I wake up filled with joy. I'm so happy that is my being. And I love meeting everybody. And Geneva, are you happily married? Did it work? I don't know, because you didn't let me know. But anyway, what a pleasure. These are great questions, I must say.
Yeah, well, it's great. We do feel the gratitude.
Thanks.
And the joy.
Thank you.
Alex, Happy Days focused on a time 2 decades before the show was filmed.
Yes.
That seemed like a completely different culture. Looking back 20 years from today, how do you feel the culture has changed, and what do you think things will look like 20 years from now?
Okay. 1, Gary Marshall always had the plan to set the human condition in the 50s. We were doing it in the 70s. Why? Because it became timeless. It wasn't like you were hitting your audience on the head with all of these moral stories, because it was another time, except that it was about the people living who were watching it, the very people who were watching it. That's number 1. Number 2, The technology changes so quickly. But once if we take the humanity out, if AI takes over, I'm telling you, my imagination goes right to the film 2001. It goes right to Hal, the computer, who goes, I don't think I'm going to do that, human being. I'm going to take over and you're out. I'm telling you, we just had a writer's strike. If it ain't on the page, it ain't on the stage. And the writer, man or woman, old, young, they write, if they're good, from their experience, from their humanity. And then I, as an actor, understand that because we're the same. It goes in, it comes out with my experience. You can change the technology, but that part of it, I think, is mandatory and will remain the same. Where are we in 10 years? I have no idea. I just hope I am alive to see what the human being has created for themselves as a world to live in.
That's maybe a nice place to stop.
Can I just say thank you to everybody who asked me a question, everybody who wanted to, and everybody who listened. I speak publicly sometimes, and I always say at the end, thank you for listening. My parents never did.
It was our pleasure to listen.
Thank you, Maggie.
Having you here, Henry. Thank you so much. It's been really such a pleasure to talk with you and to have you here and have everyone be able to hear your wisdom and your insights. It's really wonderful.
Thank you. Can I just say, if you ever meet the guys who invented or the team that invented Google, would you just say thank you for me?
I will do that.
Okay.
I don't meet them often, but if it so happens, I will be sure and pass that along.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.